We have a couple great topics that we discussed. The first one is surrounding open house follow up, and a similar question about the HomeBot tool and following up when triggered with notifications there. And then another different topic was the question surrounding best practices, best ways to market yourself, whether you are an agent in a new town or you're in your old town, but you are a new agent. So, regardless of the situation, how do we get the word out that you're here ready to do business and you want the people in the community to know you? What's happening? I'm JC Agajanian, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group, bringing you, as always, the recap from the Monday Morning Mastermind that the Fast Forward movement puts on, always full of great content and lively discussion. And today we've got a couple good questions from people who were going through some things. And of course, we've got, at any point on any Monday, between 600 and 1,000 of the nation's top producers logging in, ready to not only converse, but to weigh in with great advice. So let's go straight into the first one today. Following up with open houses after you've met people on the weekend, or if you're doing weekday open houses, following up with them once you've met them. And then along the same lines, if you're not familiar with HomeBot, we've talked about it a ton on these masterminds. We use it in our business at the Whissel Group, and a lot of the agents, whether individual or team agents or team leads from the Fast Forward Mastermind group, use it as well. And it's basically a really nice, it's a valuation software tool similar to something you might find like a Zestimate on Zillow, but it's better because it gives the homeowner, first of all, a monthly email coming from you, notifying them about recent comparable sales. And it also allows them to use sliders and scales to dial in what they think of their value. So if they look at some of the comps and their house is significantly nicer, they can adjust for condition. Same thing with age. Same thing if for some reason the square footage is off or the bed bath count or anything like that. They can customize it themselves and dial it in. It also gives them great ideas after prompting questions like their current loan balance and rate and various things like that, whether or not they would be a good potential candidate for a refinance, or if they're considering renting it out, what the rents are going for. It's just kind of a real well-rounded home valuation tool. And of course, whenever they take a look at it and dial in and play around with the toggles, we get that nice notification. So in case you're unaware of what we were referring to when I say a HomeBot notification, that's what it is. Okay, that's out of the way. Following up in general with open houses and with HomeBot notifications. First of all, we got to meet these people where they are, right? They are not at the bottom of the funnel raising their hand saying, come list me, right? This is not the type of lead they are. And whether they're a buyer at an open house or someone receiving a message on email about HomeBot, that's just not what they are. They are top of funnel, right? So instead of asking them, hey, you ready to sell? Can I come over and give you a listing presentation? Probably a good idea would be to maybe have a different conversation and try and enter at what their point of interest might be, right? So they're not planning to take action or doing anything substantial right now. They're probably interested in something like what kind of equity they have in their property. So let's talk about that. What'd you think about the equity position that our system told you had? You think it needs some tweaking? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Cool. Well, if you really don't like it, like I'd be happy to do a little, comp search on my own, put some actual human interest into this, or if the service that we have for you is doing a good job right now, that's fine. If they are farther down the funnel and they might want an actual CMA or listing presentation, you can find that out by leading that conversation there. But don't just jump in there, right? After asking about equity, if they agree with it, things like that, maybe dial it in a little bit more, ask if they've done improvements to the home, just carry that typical conversation a little bit further, right? We're not pushing, we're not being salesy, we're being consultative, and we're being helpful, right? Very important. This is a helpful call at this point, not a sales call. And whether they're a nosy neighbor who popped through the open house or that's a HomeBot notification, that's a good approach for that type of buyer or seller. Now, well, it could be a sell by, but in any case, if it's just kind of a typical buyer lead that came through an open house and you want to follow up, um, some great advice because there was lots of talk in the mastermind about systems and putting them into your CRM and then doing drips and follow-ups and all those things. Those are great. And I personally believe that you should put every single open house visitor into your system and treat it like a lead that came from anywhere else, whether it's a referral, whether it's a Google pay-per-click, whether it's a Facebook lead ad, whether it's a Zillow Flex. Doesn't matter where it came from. It should go in your system and you should follow up appropriately, right? But a little bit of a shift in mentality came from a mega producer doing super high end in coastal Los Angeles, said that, look, let's just try and figure out what we're trying to accomplish here. In this open house, I would love to collect one or two, maybe three at the max. Outside of that would be a little unrealistic. Like ready to go buyers who I can strike a chord with and possibly be working with in the next week or two, right? Like that's an ideal outcome from an open house. So instead of trying to focus on how to run systems and collect every single person's information, he said, listen, try and really work on great conversations and figure out who's going to be your guy or guys or gals. Like how many people do you think you can really make that connection with now? Follow up with them today, tomorrow, in the next couple of days, set an appointment and be off to the races with them. And in a typical open house, it's going to last anywhere from 2, 3, or 4 hours. To have one or two, maybe three of those type of people to come through is going to be a huge win. Even one is going to be great, especially if you're doing them on a regular basis. You do that, if you do one open house a weekend and you get one ready to go buyer, especially in a nice price point that's actually going to connect with you and get the ball rolling in the coming week or two, you're going to fill up your pipeline in a hurry, right? So just a little bit of a different perspective from somebody who's been doing this for 30 years. That's Ed, not me. I've only been doing this for about 20. Great perspective. Like, let's figure out what are we trying to accomplish here and how are we going to get that done? And so we just zero in, we think about all the people that we've had contact with. Some people are standoffish. They're not going to chat with us. Some people are quick in and out. Some people are nosy neighbors. They're not really in the market. But you find those one or two that you strike a chord with, that you guys had a good conversation, and they have the right motivation and timing, you're off to the races. So keep that in mind when you are scheduling your open house, when you're preparing, when you're actually getting ready to start your open house. Think about that next time, and hopefully the mentality going into it will help you come out of it with that ready to go buyer in the next week or two. And by the way, speaking about nosy neighbors, we love nosy neighbors. Nosy neighbors are the greatest. You know why? Because there's future sellers. Nosy neighbors are our future sellers, and the more communication we can get with them, the better we can do to do the same thing. Sure, we're not going to be calling them looking for an appointment tomorrow, but we are damn sure going to put them in the CRM. We are damn sure going to try and find all the information we can about them, their full name, phone, email, address, any piece of information they didn't give us. We're going to try and fill in the gaps. And we're going to go ahead and use HomeBot to stay in touch with them because, like I said, when I started, it's a great tool for helping people stay up to date on where their home's at with what the market's doing so that when the time comes, you will be a logical call. Hey, what's going on? We're thinking about doing this, blah, blah, blah. And then you're off to the races again. So that's it for open house follow-up and HomeBot notification follow-ups. By the way, as far as HomeBot notifications, just treat them like any other notification you get, whether it's a buyer or a seller. If you have a good IDX system that actually notifies you when your prospects are looking at specific properties, treat the HomeBot notification the same way. You get triggered. They don't know that you've been notified. So come up with an opening line, give them a call, ask questions about where they're at. You don't need to say, hey, I saw that you were looking at this property. It's a little stalkery, but you know what? You can also decide, I don't care about that, and just go straight forward and say, hey, my system notified me that you were doing this, so I'm calling you because of. I don't love that direct an approach. I'd rather just say, hey, it's been a long time, and kind of lead the conversation from there. But in any case, whether it is property notification or Zillow sending you an email saying, hey, your you know client who's chosen you as their preferred agent is looking at this property, or if it's a HomeBot notification, whatever the case may be, it's really just a prompt to pick up the phone. And so let's just not make it more complicated than it is. And that's all it is. So moving on. Best ways to market yourself, whether you are new to the business or new to the town you're in. Well, lots of great conversation on this subject. So one of the first talking points was surrounding farming. Pick a small farm, 3 to 5 miles max. There's, in most areas, you can probably zero it in even smaller, and just hammer open houses. The reason we're doing this is because the more open houses you do, the more opportunity you have to put out signs, and not just 1 or 2 or 5 or 10, but a ton of signs in the community, and leave them out there all day long. It's free advertising. It's almost as good as having your name and face on a bus bench, right? Your stuff is out there in the community, and if you're doing the same community regularly, it will become noticeable, right? We had an agent who spent a long time overseas doing other work, come back to his hometown and get into real estate. So he fell into this category perfectly, and he was one of the people that spoke up and gave us his advice. He said at some points he even had to pay other agents to do their open houses because he wanted that specific open house, because he liked the corner that it was on, he liked the area, and he wanted to take advantage of it. And he would do open houses like a madman. He was putting open houses during the midweek on drive times in the evenings, so like a Wednesday, Thursday, kind of 4 to 6 type of time frame. And then he would follow it up with a Saturday, Sunday afternoon as well. He's doing 3, 4 open houses every single week. And guess what? He did it for a year. He didn't have any other life. All he was doing was hammering open houses day in, day out, with tons of signs, 30, 40, 50 signs at a time, okay, in the neighborhood. So, I mean, if someone doesn't know who he is, they're just going to think he owns the market at some point, because regardless of how many transactions he's doing, 3 to 4 times a week with signs all over the place with his picture and name and phone number on these signs that are all over the place, that's significant. If you're not branding yourself at that point, something's going wrong, because people are going to take notice. So you do that for a year, people are going to know your name. Other advice, become a member of the local Chamber of Commerce. Do what you can to actually not just be a member, but be involved. Contribute, volunteer, be seen with local leadership. It doesn't matter if people know who you are, but if you're up there next to the mayor, they're going to think you're important. And maybe it's just because you happen to be in the same committee of the local chamber, right? So get involved, and don't just get involved and be like, oh, it's kind of lame, I don't really know anybody. No, go all in. And for that matter, going all in doesn't just apply to something like the Chamber of Commerce. If you are a regular gym member, go pick a class that you go to and do it the same time on the same days of every week, and you're going to get to know everybody else that's regular at that class. I did that, and I ended up getting tons of business from the CrossFit gym that I was a member of for about 6 years. I wasn't there looking for business. I just happened to be regular because that's where that time slot fit into my schedule, and it happened to be the same thing with a handful of other people that went there, and it turned into a good amount of business for me just from being there and being nice and being like fun and working out with people. Same thing goes with church. If you're gonna go to church, go to church. Don't just go once a month and call it your home church. Go every single Sunday. Get involved, volunteer, meet the leadership, become a part of it. And we're not there, that's kind of crass to be looking for business at church, but whatever it is that you're doing, throw yourself into it and you will see the benefits. Things will come out. So the same goes with this topic here, where we're talking about the Chamber of Commerce. Um, Switching to the same topic, but online. So, join a large local Facebook group. It's a great way to in, invite people to maybe something you're going to do. If you're going to throw an appreciation event of some sort, and you're looking to add people in, um, offer something of value in a group like that instead of like advertising, hey, I got this listing coming up. Like nobody wants to see that in their local Facebook group where they just want to know what's going on in the community they live in. But if there's a free event that happens to be in their community and they're going to come along, well, forget about the fact that it's thrown by a realtor. Now there's just something cool that's happening. And when they do come, you're going to get to meet them. So don't spam those groups with ads. Do something of value. And of course, be involved and contribute to conversation online. Of course, on a different subject, you can do ad spend with Facebook. That's a great way to build your brand, to get more eyeballs, especially if you can really zero it in on your neighborhood or even create a custom audience doing that and zero it in on your neighborhood. Another way to do it is to preview all the homes to hit the market. At least do a drive-by, if not a full tour for yourself, because you're going to be out in the community. If you do happen to take a buyer appointment or a listing appointment, you want to know all the inventory. And so just previewing the homes is going to get you more educated, and you're going to be physically out in the community more. You're out being seen by other agents and by the community that lives there. So check out homes a lot and get to know the inventory very well. I already mentioned before, but I'll mention it again. Use a lot of open signs. We do at least 30 on every one of our opens, and depending on the need, sometimes we can do 40 or 50. And if you have the opportunity, not all communities will allow you to do this, but put them out on a Friday night so that they're waiting there for you Saturday. And then if you're doing a Saturday and a Sunday open house, leave them out Saturday night as well, and all day Sunday until Sunday night when you need to collect them. I like to hire someone to do this for me because I absolutely hate putting out open house signs. It's cumbersome, it's a hassle, it takes forever, and if you don't really manage your time well, you're likely going to be rushing around, sweaty, not prepared for an open house, finally getting into the door only to have people waiting there for you to let you in. It's a nightmare. You want to be calm. You want to have the windows open, the lights on, the music on. You want to have some snacks ready, some waters, whatever it is, ready to really put on a show for your guests and not be rushing around unprepared and feeling out of sorts when it gets time. So hire someone out to do it. Especially if you're going to do a lot of signs, it takes the stress off. I don't care how many signs I do. Sure, it costs me a little more, but it doesn't cost me any more headache or time or energy to do a lot of open house signs. So do a lot of them. Leaving them out. Some communities will steal them and say, if you want them, come to the city hall or whatever, or the police will take them, or sometimes there's Karens in the neighborhood that don't appreciate it. But for the most part, leaving them out for a long period of time is just more advertising, like I was saying before. So that's a great idea for branding. Volunteer to help at local community events. There's always something going on in your area, and if you're not in a position yet to have your name and face on a banner as a sponsor, then help out and get to meet people. That could be actually more beneficial to you by meeting the people that are putting these events on and making friends with them, because you're like actually lending a hand and doing something than just giving them some money. But I'm sure as you get busier, as you do better financially, becoming one of those sponsors and probably not necessarily doing the help yourself may become something that you transition to. At that point, maybe you've got some help, maybe you've got a team, maybe you've got some junior agents. Fill them into where you used to be, and now they're the ones making relationships and meeting people. It's just a great opportunity. And like most of this stuff, it's just about doing the work, deciding that you want to be known and you're going to do this. Another idea was to kind of do like just nothing special, but just like a quick and dirty version of a diners, drive-ins, and dives or something like that. Like go to local restaurants and just do a quick little selfie style social media review the restaurant. Um, the cool thing is you do that, and with a little bit of research ahead of time, you can figure out who owns it or who's maybe a co-owner or some sort of influential person in the local community that is got a vested interest in that place, and then you tag them in it. And now you've got more people coming in and seeing what you're doing and building your awareness, right? Speaking of commenting and engaging, find out who's doing that on other local, like maybe somebody isn't the owner of a restaurant, but they are like kind of like to fancy themselves as a local food blogger or something like that. And they just happen to be out and about and involved in everything. Well, message them, engage that person, get to know that person who's already a busybody on all the different chat boards and social posts. They're probably going to be pretty influential in the area if they're already doing all that effort for themselves. And then that's a great person to connect with and help you build your brand. Um, that same example I just used of tagging the owner or tagging somebody else who's got something to do with the restaurant or business that you're visiting is a great way to utilize other people's audiences. And so, tagging that person is just going to expose you to all of the people that they already have following them. So think about different ways that you can utilize other people's audiences, and then will also help you to build your brand. Another way, similar idea is to just create community spotlight videos. Like you can pick something about the town that you really like that maybe somebody who doesn't live there already and is considering moving into this area would be like, oh, that's really cool. That video turned me on to some of the neatest parts of this town. I'm going to flag that and reach out to this person when the time is right, or whatever the case may be. So community spotlight videos are a great way to add awareness as well as help people gain. It's like there's something of value there for them, right? And on that same subject, the concept is to be kind of a local reporter, whether that's going back to the restaurant example or to something about the community that is worth highlighting, or really a great hack is to just go to City Hall or the website for City Hall and find out what's happening in town. There's always some sort of new ordinance or some new initiative or something that's happening within your small town. Find out what it is. What are they planning? Document it. Do a little story about it. Figure out what it is so that you understand it well enough, and then explain it. Be a little reporter. I mean, that's going to go a long way. And if you do that a lot, you're going to be known as the person to go to with any interest or questions about what's happening in the city, so that they don't have to go and sit through one of the most boring meetings that you could ever be on, which is a city hall meeting. I apologize. HOA meetings are pretty bad too. UHs know what I'm talking about. Anyways, after all of this is said and done, do not forget about the tried and true direct response marketing. This is where we are actually doing the opposite of branding. We are not branding ourselves in direct response marketing. We are focusing on offering something of value. For the most part, it's, either things to avoid when buying, or homes themselves, like check out this killer house, or we've got the buyers, here's how for sellers. Whatever it is, you're trying to trigger something in an ad that shows them you've got what they want, and then only after you've got their information, you've provided whatever you're offering, whether it's a newsletter or a quick tips list or a link to a video, whatever you're offering, you deliver it, and now you've got them in the system, and now you can go about branding them, right? Because the direct response got them in, you're actually giving what you offered, now you're in communication. If you don't get a hold of them, at least now you can drip on them. You can make sure they know who you are through your email marketing, which is a whole different topic altogether. So we're gonna cut it off right there, and wrap up the video for today. So I hope that you found something helpful, something you can implement in your business, a little nugget or two that can really help shift the dial for you and do some really great things this year, specifically surrounding open house follow-ups and HomeBot notifications, and the best way to market yourself when people don't necessarily know you already. So that's it.